Attention, gentlemen of distinction. Introducing NGBN.TV, the television network designed exclusively for men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Your go-to destination for entertainment that speaks to you, inspires you, and celebrates the incredible journey of manhood. And here's the exciting news. NGBN.TV is coming to Roku, Apple TV, Amazon, and your favorite mobile devices. Whether you're a sports enthusiast, seeking self-improvement, or just looking for a good laugh, NGBN.TV has got you covered. Entertainment, inspiration, brotherhood. Coming soon to Roku, Apple TV, Amazon, and mobile devices. NGBN.TV, where men thrive. Hey guys, Brian Jodice back with another episode of Pick Up the Six podcast. We're going to get right into it. Two awesome guests on the show today who I just spent basically 5 days almost nonstop with, some time apart, but pretty much nonstop with these two excellent guys. They've been on the show before. Before that, I'm going to give a shout out to two sponsors as we're talking because they were a huge part of the effort that we just did. And if you were following on social media at Brian Jodice, at Pick Up the Six, you got to see a lot of what the journeys across South Carolina were like last week, and that's why we're wrapping it up today. But two great sponsors that have helped this show out and helped us out a ton during our effort. Last week, One Nation Coffee, John Richards, Navy EOD veteran-owned company based out of Charleston, South Carolina. They sent us some fuel for the trip. They've been a great help to our show here. Go to onenationcoffee.com. Use the code PUT6. Save 15% off of your order. Again, veteran-owned coffee company doing great stuff. They've got a great foundation where they give back as well. So thanks to those guys. And our friends at Amino Vitals, you go to their website, use the same code, PUT6. They make BCAAs, right, that help with action and recovery. And we sent a bunch of our guys that were part of our trip home with some of their stuff. And the good general who will join us in a moment was drinking it out on the road and was like, wow, that actually helped me, which was pretty cool. So I've got Green Beret Lowell Koppert, Air Force General Ralph Jodice joining the show. Both been on multiple times. They've been on together. So no difference for these guys to join us again. And good evening, gentlemen.
Hey, Brian. Good evening. Great to be with you. And yeah, that recovery mix from Amino, after I did that 11-mile hike, within a half hour drinking that stuff, I was, let's go do another 11, man.
Boom. What's up? Koppert, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having us back, as usual. I mean, I think everybody knows we're all family at this point, so this is kind of nothing new, as you said. But as usual, as always, glad to be here, and can't wait to get let the viewers know about what we did and what we accomplished.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. You look back at it a week ago. Today's Thursday. We're recording this. The 17th of November. It was a week ago. We were already day into this effort. So here's the context for what we did. You guys have been listening along and know kind of what the journey's like. Again, go to the Instagram account at Pick Up the Six. You can see all the content we were creating out in the field in real time. And we've got some post-event documentary work to do, but we flipped a bunch of stuff live. But here's the genesis. If you remember back to last March, right? March 22, our friend Adam Cooper comes in from Arkansas, hangs out in Aiken, South Carolina for a day, but spends 22 hours working out at the gym in Aiken. Lowell and 56 Brave sponsored that, helped him get to town, brought a ton of people out, and he was working out to raise awareness, raise some funds, and just keep the conversation going around veterans, help, mental health, suicide prevention, right? And so the genesis then becomes, all right, so what's next, right? What do we do next? What adventure awaits us next? And we formed a really cool partnership between Pick Up the Six, 56 Brave, and other great people like Adam Cooper, Never Quit Fit Dad 22 on Instagram. And Lowell got this idea of, you know what? Why don't we get some special operators? Why don't we get some military veterans and some patriotic Americans, and let's hike across South Carolina. Let's start at the North Carolina, South Carolina border, and let's go all the way to my hometown where we did that 22-hour workout in Aiken, South Carolina. Let's hike them there. Let's lead up to Veterans Day to do it. Let's end on Veterans Day. And let's continue to raise awareness, but let's also raise some funds to help some veteran service organizations. And that's what we did. Last Wednesday to Saturday, we started at the North Carolina, South Carolina border, 9 o'clock Wednesday morning, had the whole crew there. We'll talk about who those guys were. And then we just legit hit the road and they just started marching. It was over 150 miles. We got them all the way down to Aiken. So we're going to talk about what that whole movement looked like. But Lowell, from your standpoint, man, to kind of rally around Adam a year ago, to have this next iteration, I didn't even say, why did I say 22? March 23. March 20 was this past March. To have this next iteration in November, man, just your thoughts, man, just kind of putting this thing together.
Yeah, so not very long ago, was that I'm not a mathematician, but was that 8 months?
8 months.
Less, 8 months. Yeah. So yeah, and I think what's even more incredible than just what we've done and what we've accomplished, but for me, it's been the bond that some of this team has created. You and I met a few years ago when Ray and I walked to the State House. Obviously, Ray and I worked together years ago doing counterterrorism stuff for the government. And so we had a bond that was forged in combat zones. And so, and I feel like, this group is just as tight, and none of us have pulled triggers together or any of that kind of thing. But we have, through that service and that selfless service, we've created an incredible bond. And, the comment I made at the opening of this podcast was the word family. And that's truly what I believe. We are a family. Some of the team just got to know each other. Some of the guys just came on board, and I feel like they're already a part of that family that we've created. So to me, that's the biggest takeaway. With Adam, he's a phenomenal guy, very humble, pretty much like most of the team that we had, just showing up and doing things for others. And I think that is, for me, I think that's the big unique aspect of this, and what kind of defines each part of this team as an individual when you separate all these guys out on their own. And obviously for this event, I hand selected the team, and I'm very proud of that. But, when you separate all these guys out as individuals and what they're doing, selfless service is the first thing that comes to mind. These guys are doing amazing things in their own lives, and it's all about serving other folks. And, there's a lot of that going on in our community. There's a lot of it going on around the world. And I just, I unfortunately, it doesn't get the recognition on a day-to-day basis that it deserves. And I think it's going on a lot more than people know. Yeah. So it's really cool to be a part of highlighting it and being able to highlight these guys. Cause essentially we highlighted an effort that we did collectively. But for me, like, I can't honestly, I got to the privilege, and it's the same way here with the Veterans Council. I have the privilege a lot of times, and I'm sure, the general would echo these thoughts as the leader, or the team leader, or, the focal point of the leadership. You get to, a lot of times, credit gets passed on to you for what the team's doing. And so for me, I was kind of like the de facto team leader as I built this idea for what we did. But I got to spend my week bragging about my teammates, and I still am here. And it's 100% true. I just, fortunately enough, was able to be a part of this team. And, the backstory of us speaking at the school on Friday along that walk, and I joked with your dad, about, little do these people know that there's a 3-star general and they got some staff sergeant, like talking to them, like, the joke's on them. But, and to be honest, like, I truly felt that way, with the guys that were sitting there. It was really cool to be able to speak to the kids, but for me, it was an honor to speak in front of guys that, I hold in high regard. The fact that when I look over my left shoulder at the people that are sitting next to me, and I'm the one that gets to speak, and then I look at the guys there and I think, man, if I were putting a program together, I'd have been the last guy I would have chose. I'd have chose every single one of them, and every day of the week, twice on Sunday. So,
yeah. So the effort we dubbed Enough, right? The campaign is called Enough. Link in the show notes and on this show page to go see what we were doing. We've got a GoFundMe effort behind it, because we not only want to raise awareness and talk and have a continued conversation around our veterans and the care that they're getting, and oftentimes the care that they're not, But we also wanted to raise some cold hard cash, man, to give to some great organizations like our partners, Brothers Keeper, Veteran Foundation, and then some local efforts in the area as well. So you guys can check it out there. And the whole message was, one, as a group, right? This hand-selected group that Lowell put together, Green Berets, Navy SEALs, Marine veteran, Major General Tom Mulliken, Lieutenant General Ralph Jodice. The thought was this group has had enough, right? You've got years and years. I mean, really going all the way back to Vietnam when those brothers in arms came home and were never given the welcome they should have been. And then you look at 20 plus years of what that global war on terror has looked like. And we see far too many brothers and sisters in arms that are falling by the wayside, that come home with wounds that maybe you can't see. So the message was, one, this group and extended members of this community have had enough waiting, enough broken promises to our warriors, but also a larger message around you are enough. You, veteran, are enough. You listening are enough. And that really resonated as we went out on the course, which then again, Wednesday morning, basically all the way to Saturday, the rains came in just on time for us to wrap up in Aiken. So that worked out well. So when you're building this team out, right, you got great friends, right? Green Berets, guys that you know and have served with, and then friends sort of in that community, SEALs. So could you introduce us, Lowell, introduce us to the team, and then I want General to come in and talk about sort of coming in and getting be a part of it. So let's kind of recap who was part of this kind of unit that was moving throughout the week.
Okay, so we'll start at the top as far as kind of the rank structure and work our way down. Obviously, we had your father, Lieutenant General Ralph Jodice, U.S. Army Air Force, or U.S. Army, U.S. United States Air Force.
Take us back to the Great Wars. Yeah. They rolled together.
To the Army Air Corps. All right. I just gave him a promotion to the Army. You're welcome.
So there was a lot of, by the way, there was a lot of those kind of comments throughout the course of the week. But yeah.
Decorated fighter pilot. We were stoked to have him. Then we had Major General from the South Carolina State Guard and former high-ranking Army officer, Major General Tom Mulliken. Obviously, that one's near and dear to me because I consider Tom not just a great friend, but I consider him a mentor. I've traveled the world with him and I've done a lot of different things with him. Just a phenomenal leader, just like everybody else that's a part of this. But that one, a little bit more near and dear to the heart because I do consider Tom, family on a lot of levels. And then from the Army, myself, obviously former Green Beret, and then former Green Berets, Chris Cathers, CEO and president and founder of Brothers Keeper Veteran Foundation, and then Rob Vaughn, former Green Beret as well, and board member of Brothers Keeper Veterans Foundation. From the Navy, we had Navy SEALs Ray Kerr, who I served with in the contracting realm, and then his swim buddy, Ronnie Garcia, who I just got a chance to meet, and the team just got a chance to meet.
He was awesome.
Phenomenal guy. Both of them showed up, both physically fit, both doing great things. Still to this day after they've hung up their uniform, and then representing the Marine Corps, Adam Cooper, easily the fittest guy of the team. He is an absolute.
Oh my God, he's a beast. He's such a beast. T-shirt tucked in, high and tight, like arms behind his back. Like when you're like pick the Marine in the group, it's like bingo, got him.
And just one of the things I love about Adam too is he's just so plug and play. It's just great. I'm like, hey man, I need you to stand in this bucket of water. It's freezing cold. You could just come up with anything, and he's like, okay.
He's like, do I need to bring my own bucket? I brought my own bucket. If you want me to do that.
Just a phenomenal guy. I served with his brother.
Yeah, his brother's amazing.
In a prior capacity, he was a former Green Beret as well. And it's one of those things. The God works in mysterious ways. Adam, was looking to do something earlier in the year, and through the graciousness of the positive side of social media, we were able to link up through his brother, and that's how we met. And then, as they say, the rest is history. So that is, that's the team as a whole. We started out trying to reach some other folks, and that didn't work out. And, I believe everything happens for a reason. And I think, we're fortunate that we got the guys that we got, and and I'm glad that it worked out exactly how
Yeah.
it did.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason. We got the right guys at the right time doing the right stuff. And couldn't be happier for how things went. Obviously this was a kind of a proof of concept for us, and I was doing a lot of the lifting and logistics on my own.
Yep.
I will take some hits on getting a little behind the power curve on a lot of the stuff that, it was a lot. I mean, moving 8 guys across an entire state, 170 miles, kind of on our own. A lot of times just kind of with the special operations ambiguity kind of mindset of, hey, we'll figure it out. Oh, that didn't work. All right. Well, hey, we'll figure it out. Like
that happened multiple times as we're kind of on the road, just having, all right, recheck where are we at? Where's this guy at? What do we have to get to next? We have a bunch of movements. Dad, for you, let's have some fun first. But I want to talk seriously about why you want to be a part of this. You walk up to StartX. It's that Wednesday morning, and these 5 dudes just come walking out. Big tatted beards. I mean, it's like the general had his own security detail there. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. And, having followed Lowell's exploits, I'll say, but his caring and his missions that he's accomplished over the last few years, from getting that Vietnam Memorial moved, raising that awareness, rucking those 53 miles, if I remember that's a number, mm-hmm. Right? Follow that, of course, through pick up the 6, and then of course the 22-hour stuff earlier in the year, and things. So yeah, when I had the opportunity to meet these guys in person there that morning outside that little church, New Hope, or if I remember that right, and right away felt very, very welcome, and was glad to be part of that team and get ready to get rolling and get ready to get walking on down the road.
Yeah, and that's what we did. It was Lowell, General Mulligan, General Jodice took the first leg. And look, you start making your way down. Guys, I mean, really there's probably a lot, right? We could unpack for hours all the different stuff we did that week. We don't need to go through all that. Just a couple things that sort of jump out to me. One, the love and care from the local communities as we're making our way on this journey to Aiken. I'm not surprised by any stretch, right? You're walking through rural South Carolina. You're expecting to see incredible Americans, but the love and care from the state troopers, right? The deputy sheriffs that were guarding you guys with their vehicles, right? Through those first 2 full days, outstanding, right? These guys, you guys had hard work to do to walk 10 miles, but in all seriousness, man, imagine driving 10 miles at the pit, right behind you.
3 miles an hour.
At 3 miles an hour.
Those guys put the work in.
I would rather walk than have had their job. So one of the things to touch on too is just so. I said everything happens for a reason, and as I planned this, I'm the one that chose the route, and I chose it because it was advantageous to where we were going. It kind of took us through the heart of South Carolina, and it was somewhat of a straight shot, and it was rural, but just the little things that you don't plan for that just kind of roll in. And I didn't even think about this until Ralph just said this, but I picked the closest point to the North Carolina border that I could, which was that church. And of all things, it's the name of the church is New Hope.
Yeah.
It's not like, Middlebrook or like something Creek or something. It's New Hope United Methodist Church, and I mean, like those 3 words, New Hope and United. And here you have a group of guys that came in from all over the country, Virginia Beach, Pennsylvania, Arkansas, South Carolina. And, so it just those little things. And then, the back of our shirt said, and there's not a whole lot of pics of that because a lot of it is, pics of us from the front, but the back of the shirt said, "I got your 6."
I got plenty in the archives too. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah. And so, knowing that while we were out there getting their 6, law enforcement who does our job here, boots on ground while we are fighting wars and deployed somewhere else in somebody else's backyard, they had our 6. Yeah. So that definitely a lot of those little nuances as you kind of take a step back and just kind of look at everything. And I got a chance to do that. And that was the cool part about it. Like waiting for the guys to high five with me and stuff like that. And just kind of getting to sit back for a second and see from that kind of, that overview, somewhat what I'm sure the general has experienced throughout his military career. Like, you set a plan in motion, and then you get to kind of see how it all plays out from the leadership position. And it was really cool just to see the guys step up and perform. And I knew they would. I mean, these are like I said before, these are the guys that America calls on when we're in our darkest hour. And that's the reason that they were chosen. We've got people in their darkest hour, and these were the guys that needed to answer the call.
Dad, one thing that is obviously incredible and I'll take with me for the rest of my days is you and I get to experience this entire thing together, which just, Lowell, thank you for that, right? What a great blessing for us as father and son to be able to do this thing together and for that extended amount of time. What was also amazing about it, and I was just thinking about this early, is we got a front row seat for literally this entire thing. Right. So Pick Up the Six is documenting the whole thing, but that means you and I in the truck are leapfrogging these guys the entire way. We saw every moment of this movement, which was pretty incredible. Tell me about the lady that we meet first after that first stop, who, when it's lunchtime, came out to support us.
You're talking to at the little cafe there. Yeah. So that morning, that was
I'm talking day one. Getting done. Ray's getting ready to go. It's about lunchtime. That first woman that we met.
Yeah. So she was just, in that little town.
Yep.
So obviously
Hardy's parking lot.
Yeah. So obviously these guys are standing out. They
attract a little bit of attention. Yes.
Right. Not only are they big, but the ruck was pretty big. Now it wasn't very heavy, but that was okay.
Well, hold on. Let's listen. Some things are best left behind.
All right. So,
it had to have been at least 200 pounds.
Had to be. If it was 200, if it was a pound. But a massive American flag on top.
Right. And the top of that flag is probably standing 10 or 12 feet up in the air. Right. Awesome. And Lowell designed it that way on purpose. So when people see that, they go, these guys are doing something. So this woman comes out of the little local gas station and she says, what are you guys doing? They proceed to tell her what she's doing. She says, have you guys had lunch yet? And I said, no, we haven't had lunch. We're going to get something here in a bit. We're waiting to swap out with the guys. And we were a little bit ahead of time. She goes, I'll be right back. She goes, finds an ATM, comes back with, I don't remember how much she gave us. It's immaterial. She goes to the ATM machine, gives us money for lunch. And talks about how grateful she is for what we're doing and why this is important, how grateful she is for what our military women and men have done and what they will continue to do. She talks about her family, and I don't remember if it was her grandfather, but she had a relative.
I think her father was a Marine. If I remember.
I think it was her dad.
Yeah, her dad was a Marine, and so she just had nothing but great things. But that graciousness. And you guys already touched on it. As we saw that throughout the entire state was there. People would come out and they'd give us water. Truck stopped and gave us water. Right. We got breakfast sandwiches that one morning outside that little cafe on the second day. Brian's got on that awesome Johnson's transmission T-shirt, right? That
lug off South Carolina in the house,
right? And a guy comes out of his transmission shop and throws the T-shirt.
Just gave it to Ray. He's like, "Whatever you're doing, just take my shirt, please." Like, just literally gave him the shirt off his back. I'm wearing it. It's a little stinky, but it's fine.
People beeping their horn, thumbs up out the window, and all that kind of stuff. And I got to tell you, 3 different times this week, I've told that story about the graciousness of the people. First at Roots for Boots, and Roots for Boots is a local nonprofit grassroots veterans organization here that my good friend and Brian's friend Christy Lucas runs. Mm-hmm. And Judy and I, my wife and I, deliver food for them once a month on a Tuesday afternoon. And that same Tuesday, she has veterans come in. She's up to 190 veterans. Now I'm getting off topic here, which is a new record. But before there,
by the way, this isn't coffee, in case you guys are wondering.
Yeah. She has a little bit of a pep rally before they get ready to start dishing out the food. And the chaplain says something. And I said, hey, Christy, can I tell you a little story? Just because they're willing to support veterans, and I told about the Enough I Had on My Enough T-shirt, and mentioned it. And then I had Rotary that day, and remember our Rotary Club. I did the same thing, and then again at that same night, I was at our Friends of Italy Club and told the same story. So the graciousness of the people, just when we think the world's going to shit, we find that there is a lot of goodness, as Lowell already said, and good people out there that are willing to provide that support. And then I'll save. You'll probably get to Veterans Day.
Yep.
I'll save some comments about that here.
We will get there. Lowell, let me do this first because I want you to tell us about Friday, right? Speaking at the school and our incredible special guest that met us in Columbia, right? But before that, I got to look, all these guys get a ton of praise, right? Every single one of these guys, Ray, Ronnie, Adam, Rob, amazing. Rob almost broke my hand off multiple times when I shook his hand. I mean, that dude is, but like the sweetest guy, but that bro, I mean, this guy, Rob Vaughn, wow.
Real deal, man.
Real deal. I mean, I heard some stories about him that they're his stories to share, but just like what a class act. This guy, Chris Cathers from Brothers Keeper Veteran Foundation. Okay. Chris looks scary as shit. He's big as hell. He's tatted up. He's got a massive beard and he's got a service dog that looks scary too, but is a sweet dog, but you know, a grade A service dog. Incredible. Chris is battling stage 4 bone cancer, has part of his lung removed. I mean, he is battle bruised and his body has been ravaged by cancer. He got out there with his buddy and his friend who he went through the Q course together to become a Green Beret 30 years ago. And he humped out 7 miles that must have had him in excruciating pain and didn't complain about it for a second and just got after it. I mean, Lowell, that guy's determination and his partnership in this, I don't think can be understated.
No, and I'm glad that you touched on it because to me, I talked to somebody about this literally yesterday, and I said, you know, of all the stuff that happened, you know, we made national news. We raised close to $25,000. We shook a lot of hands along the walk. You know, a lot of cars beeping horns and that kind of stuff. We kind of unified a community, and as far as a community, I mean, like across the state, you know, and across the country. I mean, we had money pouring in from all over.
People we've never met or will never meet, right? Saw you guys on TV and threw tons of money in there.
But going back to that, you know, New Hope United Church, stuff that you don't plan for, things that are they're just beautiful to catch in that moment. You know, like when you look at like the prizes that are given out for photography and stuff like that, just being, you know, you've heard me a number of times, like people talk about the stuff that I've done and, you know, my military career and things that I've done with the other organizations and stuff like that. And I truly, I mean, this is 100% when I say I've just always been in the right place at the right time. And I mean, and I honestly believe that it's not due to any impressiveness on my part. It's just, you know, I've had the fortunate, instance of just being in the right place at the right time a lot of times. And I had not known that it had occurred because I was up the road waiting to tag with Rob and Chris. But as I started walking, you know, we start getting the updates on our social media feeds and stuff like that. And I was out there at that leg was the leg that I was out there just by myself. And so I'm just kind of walking, you know, I got the sheriff deputy behind me, but it's just, you know, me out there in solitude, which thoroughly enjoyed. You know, there's you know, something to be said about having that time to yourself to just reflect. Yeah, and as I'm doing that, I pull up this video, and I mean it's still, I mean, I've listened to this song probably 30 times in the gym this past week because, like, you know, I praise what you do for us and the capturing all of this because, you know, if we don't capture all this, it's lost. And it's, you know, people don't even know that you did it really, but your ability to capture stuff at times is just unbelievable. And I know that you're going to go on to do way bigger things than anything that we've accomplished so far. And I can't wait to watch that. And I'm sure your dad feels the same way, but this video pops up on my feed, and I mean, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And it's, you know, it's this guy in BDU bottoms, you know, he's in a pair of multicam pants and he's got his arm up in the air at the beginning of the video. And I realized why he's got his arm up in the air, and it's because he's waving at a tractor trailer that's just driven by him and is blowing the horn and, you know, support, like a solitude of, yeah, hey man, you know, go kick ass. And here he is with a service dog, and this guy's limping this entire time. And it's not just a little, oh, you know, I just kind of twisted my ankle and I'm trying to walk it off. I mean, it is a significant limp. Like, this dude is, you know, in some pain. And then, in front of him is this hulking frame of a man with a rucksack and a flag on. And it is set to
It's
this
Gavin
song.
DeGraw and Need to Breathe.
Let me just read the lines that just hit as you're listening to this. And if you've never heard this song, and you're listening to this podcast, I would say pause right now and go listen to this song and then come back to the rest of this podcast. But it says, it starts off with ramblers in the wilderness. We can't find what we need. Get a little restless from the searching. Get a little worn down in between, like a bull chasing the matador as the man left to his own schemes. Everybody needs someone beside him, like a lighthouse beside him, shining like a lighthouse from the sea. And it was those words: everybody needs someone beside him, shining like a lighthouse from the sea. Brother, let me be your shelter. I'll never leave you all alone. And so, I'm hearing those words, but I know the context of what I'm watching, and that is, I'm watching, excuse me. I'm watching one of my brothers, a fellow Green Beret, who's battling stage 4 bone cancer, limping down the road with his service dog. And those words, I'll never leave you alone. He's following his brother, who is Rob, who he received his beret with 30 years ago. And he's just out there not because Chris has anything to prove, or even that him walking is going to raise even that much more money. He's out there because his brother's out there and he believes in it and he wants to be there with him. And like I said before, I think any of our family members would have been out there with us. And this isn't a knock on any one of us, our family members, our wives, our spouses, our brothers, our sisters, our parents, but none of them were. Chris was there and he had Rob's back. And I know from Rob's standpoint, because I dealt with it with Ray when we walked to the Vietnam Memorial. Ray showed up with a fractured foot, and I did my damnedest to leave Ray behind on numerous occasions because I was worried about his foot. And
you don't have to keep going, man. You don't have to keep going. I can take it from here. I got it. You can just stop.
Exactly. And he bitched at me every time because he was like, you're not going to be out here by yourself. I'm right here beside you.
Yeah.
And so, and here I am, I'm walking down the road all by myself, with this deputy. And I'm watching this. And talk about an impact. And I know a number of people that watched that video that were like, wow. And, and it's just one of those things where, as I'm hearing them say that, I feel fortunate enough as they see it, yeah, man, that's impactful. But unfortunately for you, you have no clue how impactful it is because you don't know what you're actually watching. You don't know the backstory of it, how truly powerful that video is. When I saw it, I was thinking some of the things that I've seen in the course of my lifetime, on magazine covers like Time and CNN Heroes and things like that. And I'm watching this and I'm just thinking, here is somebody who potentially may not be with us next year if we do this again, but he's out here with us because he wants to be. And no matter what, he's like, yeah, man, no, you're not doing it without me, number one. And number two, I'll be damned if I'm sitting on the sidelines because he's never lived his life that way. And so it was just, it was remarkable. And it, like I said before, going back to the school, it's been humbling, to say the least. It was an honor for me to have all of these guys roger up when I reached out. But it was very humbling to spend my week amongst these men. Like I said, I posted on social media today, if ever they tell my story, let them say I've walked amongst giants. And I truly have. And I've been fortunate of, it's not just been this one time, it's been many times. And it's definitely not something that's lost on me for sure. But if one instance, one phone capture, one picture, one small video summed up the entire event, I would say for me it was that 3 minutes or 2 minutes, whatever it was, of video. To me, that summed up that one little segment said more about everything that we were trying to accomplish than anything I could ever sit down and write. I mean, it was, I mean, it was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally was like just a once in a lifetime capture.
Shout out to Need to Breathe, Gavin DeGraw. Brothers, the name of the song. You guys have heard it before, likely. We also just played it here on the show. I saw that moment happen. I went to post the reel, and I thought there's one song that wraps these two guys up. Rob looks back over his shoulder at him in it. Like, yeah, I'm with you, man.
And I'd never heard that song.
Yeah, it's great.
So when I heard it, I was
great.
like,
yeah,
I was like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, I mean, like literally, I'm not going to lie. Like, there wasn't dry eyes during that. As I watched that, it hit hard, man.
We can tell by hearing you tell the story. Let's do this with the time we have, right? Cause we could do this all night. Shout out to State Representative, Celeste Davis, right? She was the state rep who months ago, if you guys remember, and we'll show it, as well. I'll post a link to it on the show page. She read our message on the state floor in South Carolina. She got all of her colleagues, both sides of the aisle, from the South Carolina State House and State Senate, to sign an American flag, which then we carried in that rucksack every step of the way. We showed up on the State House steps on Friday after going to that school, Aiken Intermediate School, where you got to speak and everybody got to be there. Awesome experience to talk to those kids, and for the general to talk to them about G-forces. And like, we had a great time there. But we go back to Columbia. This is part of the logistics, right? Where we're moving all over the place. We go back to Columbia. We get to walk with her around the state capitol. She carries that flag with her. So just a real shout out to her for championing what we were doing and just being a huge part of what we did. That's what Friday looks like. We put the boys back on the road, right? They kept rolling from Columbia back to Aiken, walking. Got to see an amazing Veterans Memorial that Adam and Rob got to stop at and stop there. And then Saturday in Aiken, we got to be a part of a really incredible Veterans Day event where, Dad, you got to speak. And so, I know it's a lot to get to, but just in a couple minutes, can you talk a little bit about what that message was to that group on Veterans Day in Aiken, in an area where we've got 20,000 veterans that has just showed up and showed out nonstop for the things we've been working on?
I was really honored and privileged that Lowell asked me and was willing to let me speak at that event, no matter how many people were going to be there. And we had to move it inside because of the weather, but that didn't dampen anything at all. And I came up with this topic, I don't know, 3 or so years ago, when I was asked to speak at a Veterans Day event here in our town of Hanover at one of the local high schools. And I came up with these attributes of service because I got thinking, well, because people always say to us, thank you for your service. Or we even say it to another veteran, or we even say it maybe to a first responder, thank you for your service. Well, what does that mean? And so I wanted to kind of define it a little bit. And I have these 7 attributes, and to speak to the veterans that were there about it. And so anyway, the 7 of them are dedication to a purpose. Sounds pretty familiar to one of the Pick Up the 6 core values. So dedication to a purpose. I also call that focus on the mission. Commitment to excellence, and it's not about being perfect. It's about doing your best, which is what my parents always told me. It's discipline, and it's a discipline to see a task through to completion. Whether it's a short task like moving across the state like we did, or it's a big, longer task that'll take a long time and might not ever end. And that's keeping that awareness spotlight on veteran mental health issues. Then there's courage. And anytime you sacrifice, it takes courage to step outside of yourself. And then there's, after that is loyalty. And Lowell already touched on it here as our team, where no one member of the team is more important than anybody else, but it's a loyalty to the people that you serve with, and it's a loyalty to the unit that you serve in, the organization, whatever that might be. And we've all been in units like that and require that loyalty. Then there's fortitude, and it's the fortitude to endure hardships, and they are both physical and mental. And how you work through those things in both a physical and a mental perspective to be able to have endure those hardships. And then this one is last, but it's not the least important. I think it's the most important of why we serve and why we need to continue to serve, and that is compassion, and compassion for our fellow human being. So to talk to those veterans about that, to use it a little bit in the past tense, but then in the end to turn that around to go, okay, guys, here's our call to action. We need to continue to apply those 7 attributes to wherever we can and whatever we might need to be able to do in and around our local communities, whether it's in another veteran organization, whether it's in another service organization like Rotary, Kiwanis, Lions. Maybe you should consider running for office and raising your right hand in another way, shape, or form. And then when that was all done, to have those veterans and their spouses to come up and talk to me about some of those things and to exchange some handshakes and hugs and even a few tears. It was just an incredible experience. I was just so grateful, Lowell, for having that opportunity. And like Brian said, that time that he and I got to spend together, but leaving there and going home, just feeling fulfilled that we are making an impact. We'll continue to make an impact. Very excited about it. And if you guys will have me back, I'm excited to do whatever is next to continue to work on these things.
Don't you worry about that. There's more to come.
I know.
There's more to come. That's for damn sure.
Those wheels, I can see those wheels are still turning.
We're racking our brains right now.
That's right. Yeah. A few more shout outs to give out before we wrap it up. And we'll, I doubt this will be the last time we talk about this. I'm sure we'll do more. Second Street Distilling in Augusta, Georgia. Second City Distilling hosted us on Saturday night for our for our sort of rally party. Outstanding, great bands there. Pot Smoker Barbecue, right? Food truck outside. They named a sandwich after our effort called the Enough, which is pretty good because once you eat it, you've had enough. That was phenomenal. So shout out to those guys. And then Lowell, remind me the place we went to for the after party where I was breaking out some pretty slick dance moves. Because I can't remember their name, but that was our third helper that night.
I wouldn't share those with your mother.
Yeah, I don't know that any dance moves were I mean, I recall going somewhere afterwards, but I don't recall any.
Yeah, fair, good. I like that.
Any incredible dance.
It's a good alibi. Okay,
but yes, that was the Loft,
That's
Augusta, right. Owned by a good buddy of mine, Adrian Estrada, former Army veteran. So
yeah,
Brian definitely had a good time though.
Had a great time. Listen, man, it was a lot. I told everybody.
If I told the crowd, everyone would have said Brian had a great time.
Bro, that was a long 4 days. I was busting my ass getting all that footage. I told Coop. He's like, man, you've been working hard. You got to be tired. I'm like, yeah, I'm cutting loose tonight, though, a little bit. You have to, man. You got to have some fun at the end of a long journey.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean,
perfect.
I got an ab workout laughing my ass off.
That's the beauty of all this. It was a phenomenal time. It was super fun, very rewarding. Fulfillment Cup is runneth over. But it was tough, right? There's tough things we had to deal with along the way, things we had to figure out, but also just to see everybody rally together and to see folks come from just, similar backgrounds, but very different, right? To see Navy SEAL general spend 11 miles walking down the road, getting to know each other over 3 hours.
We never stopped. There was never more than 10 seconds without us saying something. We talked about everything from family and raising children to his experiences, my experiences, everything. It was nonstop for the 3 hours, and it was awesome. It was incredible.
To see Rob and Chris reunited again, to see you and Lowell and Ray reunited again after those 53 miles, and just to see everybody come together, right? To see Adam put that ruck on and just start sprinting up the road, like running. Everybody else is running. He just starts running up the road. All that is just incredible moments. Again, go to the Pick Up the Six Instagram. There's tons of content. That Brother, Let Me Be Your Shelter video is on there. There's also just a lot of other stuff we created, and we'll continue to pull more moments out from this to show you guys what it was like, because we're just getting started. This conversation has to keep going. Well, right. We're not done here. This is the next phase in this conversation of enough.
Yeah. So we're actually planning 2 events right now. So, we'll touch on those, but looks like Brothers Keeper is going to be doing something for Mardi Gras right back here in the CSRA, which is over in Augusta, but Aiken will be involved in it. And then Adam and I just started throwing around some ideas for another 22-hour workout. And I think we're anyone that hears this and knows of somebody, we're going to try and get somebody to a metal fabricator to fab us up like a giant torch, something like like Statue of Liberty-ish kind of thing, and we're going to push that around a 1 mile track for 22 hours.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. So, Let's go.
Exactly.
Great scenery. So, that's going to make for great continuous footage. But I love the idea. I love it.
Yep. Any opportunity we get to thrash ourselves. I mean, a lot of people probably think we're insane.
Well, I mean, they're not wrong, really, but that's fine.
Yeah. But I mean, you got to be wired a little different to do some of the things that we've been asked to do, and that's the country we live in. That's the amazing thing. That's what makes us different than everybody else. Is we have people that will suffer a little for everyone else.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Willing to do a little bit more. So
the GoFundMe is still active. It's called Enough. Link on the show page here in the show notes. You can go support our efforts, and by watching the content we created and sharing it only helps us spread this message even further to reach more people and to continually remind those that maybe are feeling something or going through something or considering doing the one thing we can't undo. Stop. You are enough. We got your 6. That's what this effort was there to show. Guys, been an absolute pleasure. It's like we're back on the road together again. And
let's roll.
Time. Yeah, appreciate
let's
you guys.
Roll. All right, see you.
That's Green Beret, Lowell, Koppert, Lieutenant General Ralph J. Jodice. I'm Brian Jodice. That's been this episode of Pick Up the 6 podcast.